back to Art 4. It's lovely to see that you've all been having such a nice time doing the aquariums and the sloths. I've received so many lovely photos and they've really brightened up my Easter weekend. I hope you've had a lovely egg-filled weekend. Maybe you've eaten lots of chocolate. I know that I have had quite a few little chocolatey treats this weekend, so I hope that maybe you have been able to too. Okay, so what I thought that it might be really nice for Art 4 to give you a project that will help you to say thank you to the people and the doctors and the nurses and everybody that's working in the hospitals at the moment. And I know that lots of you have already been making some rainbows for your windows, because I see them when I go out for my walk with my little dog Betsy. And they have really brightened up my walks when I've been walking. And I know that you've all been counting them. And it's a nice thing to do in order for us to say thank you to those special people who are working so hard on our behalf at the moment. Okay, and it's good to say thank you. And being creative is a nice way to do that. So what I thought that we could work on this rather fancy version of a rainbow. And I hope that you think it's going to be a really good project. I'm hoping that you will also enjoy doing it and that we'll be able to see some of these on your windows. If you can put them up, that would be amazing. And then people will be able to see them as they walk by. And I've put thank you on my message, but you can put whatever you would like to put on. If you don't want to put a message on, you don't even need to put a message on, because we know at the moment that these rainbows, we know what they stand for, don't we? Let's say thank you to everybody who's working so hard. Now, what you'll see is with my picture this time, I have put in black lines going around the rainbow. And as we go through the video, I'll say that you can have the option whether to put in those black lines or not. Okay, and as you go through, you'll see what the rainbow looks like without the black lines and with the black lines. Okay, so if you think, well, actually, I might not be that keen on the black lines, that is fine. You don't need to put those in. Okay, I've shown you both ways of doing it. So if you would like to put the black lines in and you know that that's exactly what you want to do already at the start, then you can feel free to follow along exactly with the video. If you think you're not quite sure whether you want to put the black lines in or not, you can just wait till the end and you can decide. Okay, so hopefully you're going to have a really lovely time making these, and maybe some of your other friends might like to do this, or your family members might like to do this with you, because it is a really nice project and it is to say thank you. And I want to give my thanks at this point to the people who work in the hospitals as well, and I think this was a really creative way to do it. So what I'll do is I'll stop the video now and I'll come back and show you what you're going to need to be creating this lovely piece to go in your windows. Okay, so these are the things that you're going to need to help you to create the fantastic rainbow boxes that we're going to make to support our NHS, the people who are working in the hospitals and working so hard at the moment to keep everybody safe. So I am going to use felt pens for this. If you've got felt tips or you've got Sharpies, that would be brilliant, because we want the colours to be really, really bright, so that maybe if you're going to put them on your windows, people will be able to see them from a long way away. If you don't have felt tips and you want to use paint, if you've got it, you could do that as well. But just be careful with it. So I've got red, orange, yellow, green, light blue and dark blue, because we need the two shades. And I've got a purple there as well. And for the outlining of the boxes, you're going to need a Sharpie, a black one, if you've got it. Or if you haven't got a black Sharpie, a black felt tip would work just as well. Now, the other things you're going to need is you might want to use a ruler, okay, because we're going to draw the box shapes. Now, some of you might want to do it freehand, and that's fine if you want to do it that way, but if you want to use a ruler, you can have that to hand just in case you feel like you would like to. Okay, the other things you're going to need, it's quite simple materials today. We've got a nice sharp pencil and we've got a rubber, because we're definitely going to be needing to do some little rubbings out. And we're going to create whatever kind of rainbows we like. So once you've got all your stuff together, then we're ready to get going. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video and then I'll come back to you and I'll demonstrate exactly how we're going to make these fantastic boxes full of hope and rainbows. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing that I have done is I have turned my paper from landscape to portrait. Okay, and we want it to be portrait so that we can fit the rainbows and we can get lots of rainbows coming down the whole page. So that's why we want to do it this way around. So make sure that you're starting off with your paper in the right, facing the right way. So portrait rather than landscape, that's the first thing. And I'm going to draw at the bottom here in this section. Okay, so it's just a bit under half, and then you've got lots of space for your rainbows to think about coming into this space. And when I pull the camera out later, you'll be able to see how we can create that effect. Okay, so to create the boxes, now this is up to you whether you want to use a ruler or not. What I would tend to do is I would tend to have a little go at it first, freehand, and then you can always use your ruler, okay, to neaten up the lines afterwards if you want. Okay, because the boxes don't need to be perfect because they're like cardboard boxes. That's what we're going for. And obviously this is a nice project to do for our windows, because I know at the moment lots of people are going for walks and looking at rainbows, and this might just be a little different one that you might not have seen before, and it might be nice to brighten up people's days. So let's go ahead. So we're going to start at the bottom, like I said, make sure your paper's portrait, and I'm going to do it freehand so you can see that it's not that tricky. So I'm going to draw a straight line going across, and like I've done with you before, just draw it light until it's right. And that's going to be kind of the top edge of the box, and the rainbows are going to come in that way. Okay, and then I'm going to draw 2 vertical lines, one at either end, and I'm going to try and get them roughly the same. Okay, and then I'm going to join those 2 up. So basically what you have drawn there is a rectangle, and you'll be able to see that mine isn't perfectly straight. Okay, so you don't need to worry, but if you did want to straighten it up at this point, you could pop your ruler on and hopefully you'll be quite close, and then you could put in your lines using a ruler if you wanted to make them a bit straighter, but you definitely don't have to. In fact, I think it's probably a little bit nicer to do it freehand, but I'm just going to show you on the first section how to do it with the ruler if you'd like to do it that way, because it can annoy people if they're not perfectly straight sometimes, but it doesn't annoy me. I like it that way. Okay, so this is going to be the front of the box, and we might write something on here at the end. We're going to have to little think about that and see if we decide to do so. So to make the box 3-dimensional, the next thing that we need to do is we need to put in the back of the box. And it sounds strange, but it's the easiest way to be able to draw a box that's open like this one that we're going to have a go at. So I'm going to look at this line here, the top line, and I'm going to basically draw another rectangle, but slightly smaller and a little bit away from this edge on this side and this edge on this side. So I'm going to just make a little mark about that far in, and I'm pressing quite hard, but you don't have to press quite so hard. I'm just doing that so that you can see it on the video, and I'm going to go for about the same on the other side, so just roughly. Okay, so you could use your pencil. Mine's like a pencil width on that side and a pencil width on that side, so if that helps you could do it that way. And you don't want to make this too big because it's going to be the back of the box, and we're actually not going to see very much of it because your rainbows are going to be hiding it. So I'm going to start on this side and I'm going to draw up a little bit. It's not too big, and the same on the other side, and the lines are just going to go straight up. And again, as I've said, it doesn't matter if they're a little bit wobbly. That doesn't matter because our cardboard boxes, when they're made, aren't always perfect, as we know. So I'm then going to just join those 2 lines together like that. Okay, and once I'm happy, I'm just going over it a little bit heavier just so you can see on the video, but remember we're going to rub this out, so don't press too heavily. Okay, so now it looks like an odd shape, doesn't it? It doesn't look like a box yet because we need to join up the edges in order to create the sides of the box, which is really easy to do. So we're going to use this point here and this point here and this point here and this point here, and we're going to basically just join those together. So you can do those freehand. Okay, so it's just a diagonal line, or if you want you can use your ruler if that's how you're doing it. Okay, so I'm showing you both. Okay, so you can see that now it actually looks like a box, doesn't it? Okay, so this part here looks like it's the front, and you can imagine your rainbow going inside there, can't you, for the NHS? So what we're going to do now is we're going to do those lovely flaps that you saw on the first drawing, okay? So we're going to do 2 on each side, like the box is opening, and then 1 on the front as well, okay? So the way to do that is, it's not actually too tricky. You've just got to think about your angles and the length of your line. So just like these lines here were a little shorter than these lines here, this line's going to be longer than this line because it needs to be, because this is closer to us. So when things in the foreground, when you're drawing a little bit with perspective, which we're doing again, we did well with it last time, then you can use that same technique again. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that the lines are angled, okay? So they're going to go kind of out to the side of the paper, towards that side and towards that side, but we want them to follow the same direction. So we're going to put in a little line, like so, and we're going to do the same again, but we're just going to make it a little bit longer. And you can always come back to this, okay, once you've decided how long you want it to be. So if you think actually that might be a little bit too long, which I think mine might be, so I'm just going to rub the little bit out, and I'll rub a little bit off that one. So if I rub something off this one, I should probably rub something off that one, so that this one is definitely longer than that one. And then all I'm going to do is I'm trying to follow that line, like so, and we join them up so it's a slanty line, like that. Okay, and it looks like our box is sticking up. Same on this side. Okay, and I'm just going to make it a little bit longer, and then I'm going to join those 2 edges together, and they don't need to be exact, okay? You could make these a little bit bigger if you wanted. It's totally up to you, however, whatever size you like, but mine are roughly equal. They're not perfect, but remember, the box isn't going to be the main focus of the picture when we're done. The rainbow is going to be the main picture, so the box is just like a container for it, but we're going to try really hard to try and get those kind of right at the side. Okay, so now we need to do the flap that's at the front of the box, and we're going to use this line here, the diagonal one, and this one on this side to help us to work out where to put the lines for the little flap at the front. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to use that line. Now whether you drew it freehand or you used a ruler, you're going to come straight along, just like you're extending that line a little bit. And then you're going to do the same on this side. Now if you want to use a ruler, I'll show you with a ruler. You can pop the ruler on like that, and then just gently extend the line. Okay, so you can see that it's following along quite nicely, and it kind of looks a bit weird because it's just sticking out into space at the moment. But then you can either use your ruler or you can join it freehand. It's totally up to you. I'm going to use the ruler this time just so you can see me doing both. I'm going to join those 2 lines together like that. So now you can see we've got almost a flap, but not quite, because these lines here are causing us a little bit of a bother, aren't they? They're causing us a bit of a mistake in there. So we want to rub those out because they were just there to help us when we started drawing the box. But as we're finishing the box, we want those to be gone. We don't want those there anymore. We don't need them. Okay, because we want the back flap of the box to look like it's coming in front of that edge at the back there. Okay, so if you need to, because you've rubbed out, you can just neaten everything up just a little bit. Okay, and there's a little bit there that's missing and a little bit there. Okay, so just fill your box so that it's how you want it. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to, maybe you could put your own message on here. So you might want to stay at home, you might want to put NHS. You can have a little think about that, and I'll have a little think about it too. Okay, so what we're going to do, once you've got the box sorted, then we're going to add the rainbows, okay, to this at this point. So the rainbows are going to come in from the top on each side, or you could do a loopy rainbow. I'm going to show you one way that I've done it, but your rainbows can be however you like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the paper down rather than changing the direction. So hopefully you can still see just the top of my box, and you can almost see the top of my paper if I move the camera back just a little, but I want it to be quite accurate so that we can see what we're doing. So you can see the top of my box down here. Okay, and then hopefully you can see, I mean, my paper is just off the top of the screen there, but not too much because my rainbows are going to come in from here anyway. Okay, so it's totally up to you. If you decide that you want to add some clouds because you want your rainbow to come from the clouds, then you can do so. Okay, so that's what I might do. I might add one in this corner and one in this corner, so then I can have two rainbows coming down, one from each cloud. Okay, so if you're going to do that, what we need to do is you just draw a simple cloud shape in the corner, okay, and one in the other corner as well. Okay, now you can put a message across the top in between the clouds if you wanted. Okay, and I can pull it down so you can see. So you could write a message in here if you'd like. Okay, so those messages can be your own, because I think that's part of making this project an individual thing. You want it to be your messages. Okay, so if I move it down again, you can see the top of the box and you can see the clouds just at the top here. Okay, and I'm trying to keep it so that you can see what I'm doing. So the rainbows can come in however you want. Okay, that's the important bit. They can be bendy, they can be swirly, they can be twisty, or they can just be straight down, you know, lots of just straight lines coming down. So I think that I might try a twirly one and a straight one, just so you can see both kinds. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about coming across from my cloud over here, and I am going to think about putting in, there needs to be 8 lines. That's what we need to think about. Okay, so I'm going to put in my first one, and I'm going to have my rainbow twirl like that into the box. Okay, now you don't need to make yours as complicated as this, okay, but if you want to have a go at it, you can. If you want to make them simpler, you can. If you want to make them zigzag, you can. Okay, it's totally up to you. Okay, so I'm going to go in with my next line, and all I'm doing is I'm following that same shape, that same line, to create my first section. Okay, so that's line 1. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, but this one's line 1. Same again. Okay, so I'm making them quite close together, because obviously if you're doing something as kind of twisty as this one, you want to have a little bit of room for all of your colours. So far we've got red and orange, so we're going to do the yellow now. So I'm just following those same shapes, but you can see how I'm building them up, and I'm just going to go through those lines, and you can rub those out at the end, so don't worry about that. Okay, like so. So I've now got 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, so I'm going to do 5. And don't worry if they're too close. Okay, you can just take your time, and you can always rub a little bit out if you feel they're too close. Okay, and it's looking good so far, isn't it? Okay, so I think that that one is a little close, so I'm just going to rub that one out just to show you, okay, that it doesn't matter if you rub out, because that's what sometimes happens. Sometimes you have to just correct. So I'm just going to correct that, and then I'm just going to fill in those little lines there, okay, so that you can see that I'm going along. So I've got red, orange, yellow, and so on going across. So you can see that I've got a big space here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some on this side. Okay, so I'm going to come on the inside like so, and I'm just going to follow that shape, and I'm going to come down this side. Okay, so I hope you're being able to follow that. Yeah, so let's do one more on the inside. So it's making the curve here slightly smaller, but that's okay, because we want it to twist around. So let's see if we've got the right number of colours. So I've got a nice rhyme, and it might be helpful for you to have the rhyme written down, because it might help you to remember the order so that you can count. So I've got, the rhyme is, if you're not sure, it's Richard of York gave battle in vain, and the I and the V stand for indigo and violet, which we'll talk about in a minute. So if we count, we've got Richard of York gave battle in, so I need one more. Okay, so that's what you need to think about. So you could either add it to the outside on there, but I think that I might add it to the inside, but you can choose, okay, if you're doing something like this one. If you're just doing a straightforward rainbow, it is a bit easier, but I thought I would show you this in case you wanted to have a go at it. And then I'm just going to come on the inside there, like that. Okay, so we can see that our rainbow is now twisting round, and now I've got Richard of York gave battle in vain, like so. Okay, so Richard of York gave battle in vain across. So you can count them, and again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across. You can check. Okay, so that's a spirally one, which I really like. It's good fun. Okay, so you can see at the top, that's where I'm coming from. Okay, and you can see hopefully now when I've drawn it out that I've just come across and I've just built up that shape as I've gone along. Okay, so then I'm going to do a slightly simpler one coming from this cloud. So you've got two options, but as I say, if you want to do them wavy, you can. If you want to do them a zigzag rainbow coming in, you can. If you want to do them a swirly, you can, okay? It doesn't need to be the exact same shapes as mine. And I'll probably want to see some nice different shapes because you know what I'm like. I like to see unique artwork. So take it and make it your own, okay? So I just thought this would be a fun way of changing up the rainbow stuff that we've been putting on our windows, because they've all been really well appreciated. I'm sure if you've already done one, you might have had lots of compliments about it. So I'm going to do another one coming in this way, and it might go behind that one because I've got a little bit of space there. So I'm going to see how I feel about that. So again, you're going to do the same thing. So I might do a simpler one because I've done a complicated one on here. So I'm going to do a straight one pretty much, I think. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to miss out there, and I'm going to come down like that. Okay, so that's one, and I'm going to go close together and the same thing, and again, and I'm just doing these freehand. I'm not worrying, and I'm not using a ruler for this, okay, because again, we know that rainbows are really curved, but I'm doing a straight one just to show you that you can do different ways. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm just keeping count, and this will probably be the last one that we're going to be able to see behind that rainbow. Okay, because I'm not going to be able to see it over here, if that makes sense. Okay, so I might put one more on this side, and I'm just keeping count as I go. So I might draw up to the cloud if that's easier for you, and down that side. Okay, so you can see that the lines are the same. And if you wanted to use the ruler, you could, but I think it's pretty straightforward. Okay, and I'm going to put one more on this side, and then we'll count. Okay, so we've got Richard of York gave battle in. So we've got one more to go, haven't we? So just keep saying that little rhyme over and over, and that will help you to get the right number of colours in your rainbow. So to check, Richard of York gave battle in vain. We are correct. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got 8 lines, and we had 8 lines on that side. Okay, so you can see from there that the drawing, okay, is pretty much complete. But as I say, do the rainbows however you like. That's part of the fun with this project because it's really unique. And we can add our own messages on as well later on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take the camera and I'm going to zoom it out a little bit. What you're going to need while I'm doing that is your Sharpie, your black Sharpie. Okay, so have that ready, and if you need to, just make sure you've got some paper underneath whatever you're working on, so that the Sharpie doesn't go through onto the table or the desk, because we don't want to get any marks on it. Okay, so if you can get that ready, what I'm going to do is I'll just stop the video and then I'll come back and I'll zoom it out a bit so you can see the whole picture all together, and then we're going to start outlining. Okay, lovely. We'll come back in a minute. Okay, so we're back. Right, I've got my Sharpie. As you can see, you can hopefully get the whole image now. So we did a close-up on the box so you could see that, and then we did a close-up of the rainbow to show you how to do that one, especially that complicated one, but you don't have to do anything as complicated as that. But hopefully now you can see it all together. Okay, so basically what we're going to do in this section is we're going to outline all of our lines using our Sharpie. Okay, so once we've got going, it's quite straightforward, okay, to work out what to do. Now, this one is the tricky one here. Can you see that line there? Because I do not want to draw through that with my Sharpie, because if I do, it'll show through my rainbow. So I want to stop just there. Can you see where the edge of the rainbow is? So I'm only going to draw the black line up to the rainbow, and the same on this side. I'm only going to go to that bit there. Okay, so I'm just going to move my hand so you can see. So just like that. And then don't worry about these bits, because obviously they're going to be done with the colour. Okay, so again, just straight over those lines for your cardboard box. Okay, and down the edges at the sides. And if you used a ruler and you want to use a ruler, you can. But as I say, this project is quite nicely done freehand. Okay, if that's a way to use the expression. Right, so I'm not going to outline the clouds in black. Now, you could probably, if you want to, I can show you how to do the clouds in a different way. I'm not going to do that yet. I want to do the rainbows first, okay, so that we get the main body of the picture done. And I think probably the reason I'm going to do the rainbows outlined in black is just so that you can really see them. Now, you might find that you don't want to outline in black, so you don't have to if you don't want to, okay? It's probably just easier for me so that I can see what I'm doing and that you can see what I'm doing as well. Okay, so I'm going to start on the outside, and I'm going to take my time and make sure that I follow all the way through down to the bottom. Okay, and I'm not going to go through this bit here. Okay, so I'm going to go along like that, but then I'm going to stop. Okay, and I'm going to pick up probably from the bottom is the easiest way to do it. Okay, so can you see? And then my next one, I'm going to come round, and I'm just going to go carefully, and then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to pick it up from the bottom so that it makes sure that I don't go through that lovely curve here, because we want it to loop around. Okay, so I've got my next one coming in. Okay, and as I say, they don't need to be exact. And they're going to go up like so to meet the next one, and so on. Okay, so just take your time. Okay, you don't need to worry about getting them exact, but you can take a little bit longer than I have. Okay, just to make sure you get a really lovely line going along. Okay, and like I say, you might find it just as easy just to colour without doing the lines, and if that's what you want to do, that's absolutely fine. It's really just so you can see on the video which is the best way to go. Okay, now I'm keeping going, and I'm nearly done with this spiral now. I'm on my second last one. Okay, and just keep going, and just keep stopping at that point. And again, I'm going to go from the bottom. I keep trying to go from the top, don't I? Which is tricky. Okay, and my last one, I might make it a little wider than I had before, just so I can fit all of those curves in. And then I'm going to go from the bottom up, and if I need to make it a little bit wider at that point, I can. Okay, so you can see that because I've put the black lines in, you can see that it's much easier, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Okay, it's totally up to you. It might be nice just to leave them off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave them off this side, okay, so that you can see maybe the two different techniques, and then you can decide. And then I can always outline that one in black after I'm done, okay, so you can see how it looks all black. Right, so at this point, what I think I'm going to do is, because I'm not going to outline these clouds just yet, I'm going to show you what to do with those later. I'm going to get my colouring pens that I need ready so that I can do the next stage, which is obviously to colour it all in. So if you remember before from our little rhyme that we had, we needed I've got them in the wrong order, a red, an orange, a yellow, a green, a blue, a dark blue, and a purple. Okay, so you need those colours in order to make your rainbow look fantastic. So you can either do it in felt pen, but if you've not got felt tip and you want to do it in pencil crayon, that's absolutely fine. It would work just as well. Just press really hard. I've just chosen to use felt tips today just to change it up a bit, and I'm sure lots of you have got a little packet of felt pens lurking somewhere. Okay, super. So if you get that all sorted, when you come back, what I'll do is I'll show you how to colour it in. It's going to be pretty straightforward, and then I'll start to speed up the video, and then you can watch along, and hopefully you'll be able to come back and see the finished piece. Okay, so if you grab your pens, that would be great. Okay, so obviously I'm starting in my colour order. I've got my little notes around next to me so I know what I'm doing. So basically, it's nice and straightforward. You've just got to be careful with your colouring. Okay, so I'm just going to try to not leave any white, and I'm going in first of all with my red. Okay, and I'm going to choose the first one from down here. Okay, because that's where it curls. Okay, yeah, I'm going to put my red down. I'm going to take my orange, and my felt tips are broad felt tips, but if you've got fine ones, that's fine as well. They'll work perfectly. So I'm going to come in again with my next colour, and you can see how it didn't matter that we had those lines in the curve. It didn't matter because usually with felt pens you can cover the pencil anyway, or you might have rubbed them out, which is up to you. Okay, so there we go. And then I'm going to do from this side. Okay, and I'm sure when you've worked out your design, okay, you can decide which colours. Just be careful, okay, and just take your time to plan out what you're going to do, because it is a little trickier than just doing your normal rainbow, but it's going to be really effective when we're done. So wiggly ones you could have, zigzag ones you could have, normal curvy ones you could have a straight kind of rainbow as well. All kinds will work with this because they're all going to go into the box. So there's my yellow. Okay, what comes next? Richard of York gave. So I've got my green next. And again, I'm just going in and it's not taking me ages. I'm not doing any shading or anything today because this artwork is supposed to be really vibrant and really colourful. So if you're using pencil crayon, press really hard, okay? You want to get the greenest green that you can, or the yellowest yellow, or the brightest blue. Okay, so press really hard if you're using those. If you're using Sharpie, just make sure you've got something underneath. Now, I said to you to make sure you had 2 shades of blue, okay? And that is because this colour that we're going to do next is obviously Richard of York gave Battle, which is blue, and then Indigo. And Indigo is a dark blue, okay? So a light blue is like a true blue, dark blue is indigo. Okay, I'm sure you all knew that anyway. Right, just to make sure. So I'm going in with my next one, and you can see it is a really nice bright blue, this one that I've chosen, isn't it? So hopefully your light blue will be just as vibrant. And you can see that I'm just colouring as I go, and I'm thinking about the direction that I'm heading when I go around that curve. And then again, I'm coming up from the bottom and filling in all the sections so that there's no white in my rainbow, because there isn't any white in the rainbow. There's Snow White in the rainbow. Ha ha ha. Okay, Indigo, which is your dark blue. Okay, and you're just going to come closely. And you can always change the angle that you're colouring at, okay, to make it a bit easier for you. And obviously, if you wanted to turn your paper around, as I've said to you before, you can do that quite easily. I obviously won't be because I'm doing mine on the video, but you can, if that makes it easier to keep colouring. Okay, so I'm going to just follow up from the bottom because I do think that's easier because it keeps us in the right lines, doesn't it? Okay, so just do them one at a time. So we'll just do one colour at a time rather than trying to colour that bit and then colour that bit. Last colour, hooray! Violet, my favourite. Okay, so purple, another word for purple, but I do like it, and it is going to complete our lovely rainbow that we're creating for all the people who are working so hard at the moment in the NHS, and they're the reason we're staying home. to help them and to make sure we protect everybody, isn't it? So carry along right to the top of your curve, and then I think I can work out that my last one up here is going to be purple. So when I get to the bottom, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video and then I'll speed the rest of it up so that you can see. Okay, and then we can talk about finishing touches and whether you want to add those. Okay, so you can see that my rainbow looks really good fun. Okay, it's twirling around, and I've shown you kind of two different versions there. So hopefully your rainbows will either be curved, they'll be zigzag, they'll be all different shapes. They can come in however you like. Okay, so I'll stop it there and then I'll speed the drawing up. Brilliant, well done. Hopefully you got that far. I think they're going to look fab, these, on people's windows as we go by. So at this point you can see the finished colouring, and we're not going to do the background. You can if you like, if you've got time and you want to, you can, but I just thought the rainbows against the white looked really striking. But if you do want to add a blue background for the sky, feel free to do so, but maybe pop your box on a floor if you're going to do that. Now the way I created the clouds was I just lightly shaded with my pencil, and then you'll have seen me using my finger to rub over the pencil, and it makes it like a nice smudgy grey without using a really heavy grey felt tip. And I did the same with the inside of the box here, just to show that the box was in shadow, because obviously the rainbows are going in. Now you can also see that the two rainbows look different, okay, because one of them has got the black lines and one of them hasn't. So that's the time for you now to look and decide which one you want to do. It's totally up to you. Okay, I put the black lines in first on this one just to show you how to do it, but if you want to, you can do all the colouring first and then decide at the end whether you want to put in the black lines or not. Okay, so I'm going to, because obviously I've put them on this one, so I'm going to keep mine the same, but you just choose however you feel looks best for your type of rainbow that you've chosen. If you are using pencil crayon, like I said, just press really hard and you can choose again whether to put the lines in or not. I'm just going to pop mine in so that my rainbows look similar to each other, and I'm just going in after I've done the colouring. So you could do this as well, okay, either or, whichever you find is going to be the easiest when you're doing your project. Okay, so nearly done. I'm going all the way through, and as you can see, I'm just drawing with these freehand. Okay, I haven't worried too much about them being perfectly straight. I haven't drawn them with a ruler, but like I say, if you do want to draw them with a ruler, you can. Okay, so you can see that our two rainbows are coming in to our boxes at that point at the bottom. Now, when I have had a little think about this, I was thinking that maybe you could add some little rainbow splashes coming out of the box, almost like the rainbows splushering in and there's little splashes of rainbow coming out. If you want to do that, feel free to do so. Okay, you can add all kinds of things that you would like to do. And then the last thing that you might want to do is you might want to write a little message. And remember that we're doing this really for all the doctors and all the nurses and all of the staff in the hospitals, people who are looking after the people that are poorly. Okay, and that's why we're doing it. And I know that lots of you, because I've seen them when I've been out for walks, I've seen lots of rainbows in everybody's windows. And I just thought this would be a nice artful little twist on just a normal rainbow. I thought we'd have a really good go at doing something fantastic, because we are all very appreciative of the NHS and the people who are working in the hospitals at the moment. Okay, so you might want to pop a message on, and I was saying that maybe a good place for this message might be in between your two clouds at the top, because you could write a little message here, or you could write it on your box, or you could write it in this space at the bottom down here. Okay, so I'm actually going to say what I feel, which is I think that I'm going to say, I bet you can guess what I'm going to say. Okay, so I'm going to say thank you. And you might want to have your own special message, and that's great. Okay, whatever you want to write, you can, because they're specially for you. Okay, so I'm not going to do more than that, because that is how I feel. I want to say thank you. And on my box, I might just put in big letters N. I'm going to go for an orange. And a blue. Okay, but your message can be whatever you would like it to be. Okay, so I hope that you have had fun creating this rainbow that's for us all at the moment, to keep everybody's spirits up and for people to look at when they're walking by your windows. Hopefully you'll put them up, and I might get a little photo of you putting them on the windows. I would love to see your finished pieces, because I know, I can already tell that all of these are going to be completely different to each other. So some of you will have a go at my twisty one, some of you might do curved ones, some of you might do zigzag ones. I can't wait to see them all. Okay, but while you're doing it, what I want you to do is, if you can, just think about those people in the hospitals, think about the people who are doing all of that work to keep us safe when they're in their hospitals doing their work. Okay, so just have a think about them, because they're very special to us at the moment. Okay, well done. I hope to see loads of these being sent to me and lots of people sharing them on their windows. Okay, just be careful when you put them outside. Let a grown-up do that for you. Okay, well done.